If you did not find the question you are looking for, then search for Chercher Tech 1500 Selenium interview questions so that you can find your question in some other video in our site. The next question is, what types of testing can be done using Selenium? Functional testing and API testing. These two are the testings you can do using Selenium. That too if your application is web based, and if the interviewer, if they are expecting like regression testing, sanity testing and blah 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 things, you can say that regression, sanity, functional and API testing. Okay, these are the things a Selenium can do. Okay, the next question, what are the limitations of Selenium? So the first limitation is it can automate only web applications and APIs. So which means that whatever is present other than web and API, it cannot automate. That is the major drawback of Selenium and also the limitation. Okay, so and Selenium works based on the source code of the HTML page rather than working on the UI of the web page. Okay, these two are the few limitations for Selenium. You cannot test a database and all the stuff will come, but with using another libraries present in the Java, you can achieve them. Okay, that's not that you cannot say it as a limitations of Selenium, because when you say limitation, Selenium should not be able to do it, but with help of some other library, Selenium will be able to do a particular test cases. Okay, then it is not a limitation, it is a drawback. Okay, so only limitation is it cannot automate desktop applications. What is the difference between Selenium IDE, Selenium Marci and Selenium Webdriver? So Selenium IDE is popular for automating the Firefox browser, and recently they have introduced for Chrome as well, and Chrome and Microsoft Edge was using a Chromium engine. So in the future releases of Selenium IDE will also support Microsoft Edge. Okay, Selenium RC was the first version of Selenium WebDriver, and which was using a Selenium commands to automate the web browser. And Selenium WebDriver is the second version of Selenium RC. Here you can use a different languages rather than using the Selenium. Okay, so using these languages you can automate web browser with help of Selenium WebDriver. So the next question, when should I use Selenium IDE? Ideally you should not use it, that's what my answer is, but you can use it if there is no other option. You can use it when you are having like only your majority of your users are Firefox users, then only you can go for Selenium IDE. But as long as I remember, Google Chrome has like 60% of the market share in the browsers, so don't prefer Selenium IDE, try to go for Selenium WebDriver. What are the locators, different type of locators that can be used in Selenium and their priorities? So most of the time whenever the people mention Selenium, they are meaning a Selenium WebDriver indirectly. Okay, so basically there are 8 different locators: tag name, ID, name, link text and partial link text, CSS, XPath, yeah, I am getting only 7. For example, let's go again: ID, name, tag name, CSS, XPath, partial link text, yeah. And then again you can use this JavaScript based locators, which are also same. And recently they have introduced another locator called relative locator, which also uses these 8 locators only. Okay, and the priority, normally the priority should be given ID, name and class name. Okay, so the class name was the one thing I have missed when I was listing those 8. Okay, name, class name, and sorry, ID, name, class name, these 3 should be the priority. But most of the time what happens is like everything will have a duplicate, so other than that you can go with XPath and CSS. When these first three mentioned, like ID, name, class name has a duplicates, then you can go with XPath and CSS selector. Okay, now you might have a question like, which should I select, like CSS selector or XPath? It doesn't matter. Okay, both will have the same speed. It was like a myth that people think that XPath works slower and CSS works faster. That's a myth. Okay, and when I said like ID, name and class name, these three also will be converted into CSS selector at the end before going into the browser. Okay, there is no such thing as ID, name, class name working along with the browser. Okay, it's always like either you have CSS selector or XPath. Whenever you use anything other than the XPath, it will be formed into CSS selector. Okay, so when somebody asks, always answer that these are the things, these are the 8 locators, but everything will be either converted, not either converted, I mean everything will be converted into CSS selector, okay, other than XPath. So end of the day, you will have like CSS selector and XPath only as the locators in Selenium. And the next question is, what is the difference between assert and verify commands? So in recent days also people do ask this question, like what is the difference between assert and verify commands? Actually, there is no such thing as assert and verify commands in Selenium WebDriver. So this used to be work with the Selenium ID. So let me put the question like this: what's the difference between assert and verify commands? But here assert means assert and verify most of the people mean like soft assert. Okay, so this assert and soft assert does not present in Selenium. It is present in TestNG. Okay, so what is assert? Basically assert will perform a check at a particular place to check like whether a given two values are same or not. So this soft assert also will perform the same verification task, but only difference is when you are using a assert, it's going to fail a test case and you cannot continue with the test case with the same test case, but you can continue with the different test cases. But when you are using a soft assert, there is a command called assert all method. Okay, so if you use this method at the end of the test, so whatever is between this checkpoint and assert all will be executed irrespective like whether the test is failed or not. Okay, for example, let me open my ID. So here we have the main method, but instead of a main method, let me create a dummy at test. At test public void test 1. Let's make it test 1. Let's make it test 1. And now, so here we have to use a soft assert or assert. So let's go with the assert first. Okay, assert, then hit control space to get the suggestions. You will get that assert from the testng org.testng, so use it. So assert a equal to new assert, and assert basically is a class from where you can use the static methods, not non-static methods. So assert dot, you can get it. So assert equals 0 to be equal to 51. Okay, so this is going to fail, but what we are going to do is we are going to print one more statement saying that just a stars. Let's print the stars, and if this particular statement fails, then this system out println stars should not get printed into the console. Okay, so this is what our requirement is. Let's run it. Right click on the class, and then testng, not testng, actually run as testng test. Okay, so it got failed, saying that assertion error, expected 51 but found 0. Okay, so both didn't match, and you don't see that stars got printed anywhere. Okay, so this is what assert is. Like whenever a test fails, it will not execute any other statements in that test. But you might get the doubt, does it execute other tests? Let's see that as well. So for example, here I am making as test 2, and I really don't want to have any assertion in this one. So first it should execute test 1, and then it should go to the test 2, and it should execute it as well. So let's run it again. Run as test-ng test. So now we have like a total run is 2 and failures is 1 and 0 skip. Here we got the test 2 passed and the test 2 got printed here, if you see it, but test 1 is failed because of the same reason. Okay, but when you, so this is what with assert. So whenever it fails, it will stop executing that particular test case, but it will continue with the other tests. Okay, but in case if you are using soft assert, it is called soft assert. So soft, I mean like soft assert has a non-static method, so you have to create an object for it. Okay, I mean like whatever the assert comments present in assert class, the same comments are present in the soft assert object. So I'm going to just replace this assert with sa. So now it is same. Now let me run this test, okay, and see like whether it gets printed or not. So for example, here I am printing some dollars so that it can differentiate a little better. You can differentiate a little better. Okay, run as test-ng test. So test 2 is passed and test 1 is passed. I mean test 2 $. Oh, what? It can't be true. I mean, seems like both got printed. Let me execute it again. Zero failures, which means that soft assert is not failing this particular class. At the same time, it is not even executing this stars. If you see the output, yeah, you might not have got that stars. Yeah, stars is also there. I have never seen this. Actually, this is a new learning for me because both got printed, the stars and as well. But when we add sa dot assert all, so which means that even though it fails here, it should keep on continuing till here. Okay, so now let's execute it. Now there is one failure, but still the star got printed because even though there is a failure, we wanted to continue it further. Okay, so it says that following assert fail, expected 51 but found is 0, and you can see that one. There is a assert all at the end, so that even there is a failure in the assert equals, it is what it's going to do is it's going to execute these commands. I mean the commands whichever is above this assert all statement. For example, if I add one more print statement after assert all, let's add something like let's add hashes, okay, and execute it back. Now one test is failed, but we have only the stars printed. Stars got printed but not the hashes. Okay, so which means that whatever is above the assert all will get executed. Okay, so for example, you might have a doubt like, let's have 2 assertion failures and see like what happens. So for example, here let's add QWERTY, and other one is Chercher tech. Okay, now This one, for the first assert statement, which is at line number 23, is also going to fail, and the second assert statement also is going to fail, because in the first assert we are comparing 0 and 51. In the second assert we are going to compare QWERTY with Chercher tag. So both are going to fail, but let's execute it and see. So if you see, the stars got printed, which means that even though there are many number of assertions, irrespective of them, the assert all is going to execute all the statements after the assertions. Okay, after the assertions, before the assert all. Okay, for example, if I put this assert all after this hashes, let's see what happens. So now I am expecting stars and hashes. So you got the stars and hashes got printed into the console, which means that it will print everything. But I was getting another idea. Why don't I use two assert all statements in the code? Okay, so one assert statements after the printing the stars, and other assert all statements after that hashes. We have two assert all statements. So now only the stars got printed, which means that it will consider the first assert all only. Even if you have the second assert all, TestNG is not going to consider it as part of the test case. Okay, so I hope you got the difference between soft assert and assert. Okay, so for example, you might have a doubt that, oh, why didn't you check that whether assert has this assert all method or not? Let's check that as well. So from TestNG, so you can see that there is no assert all. So if there is a assert all, it will be listed in the top itself. Okay, so only the soft assert has that assert all statement, which makes, which will execute all the commands before it. Okay, so that's the difference between assert and verify commands. Basically the difference between assert and soft assert. Okay, let me save this file. Anyways, I'll share this Excel sheet maybe in the description or in the website, so you can find all the answers, all the questions that I have answered and for this video. Also, I will provide URLs here, so where you can find this more resources. Okay, so that it will be helpful for you. So so 1500 Selenium interview questions is the file name. Okay, the next question is, what is Xpath? So we were discussing what are the locators present in Selenium. So one of the locator is Xpath. Basically there are two different Xpaths, two different kinds. One is the relative Xpath, another one is absolute Xpath. Basically what this Xpath does is, it will try to find an element in the web page using the properties of the elements or properties of the element's parent, okay, or even grandparents. So such a way Xpath tries to find the elements. Okay, that's what the Xpath is, and it has two versions. One is absolute Xpath, another is relative Xpath. Okay, so I'm not explaining much on the absolute and relative Xpath because the next question is about the same. Okay, so that's all. What is Xpath? Basically Xpath is formed to find the elements on the web page, either using a relative Xpath or absolute Xpath. Okay, so what is the difference between a single slash and double slash in Xpath? So as I was explaining, Xpath has two variants. One is absolute Xpath, which is a single slash, and there is another Xpath called relative Xpath, which is using double slashes. Okay, so when you are using a single slash, it means that immediate child. That's what a single slash means. So when you want to find, or when you want to start with the single slash, then you have to start with the immediate child of the document, which is HTML, which is in the top of the document. So you have to start from the single slash, and then you can, from the HTML, then you can keep on going to the particular element, which means that it will come for a kilometer. So I don't suggest using that at all. Okay, so the absolute XPath is also used for finding the elements only, but no one uses, not no one, I mean like 99% of the people are going with a relative XPath, which is double slash. So here we write the XPath either directly to the element or to the element's parent, and from the parent we will be navigating to the child. Okay, so this one will have like a 3 to 4 words of XPath rather than a kilometers. Okay, so when we are using a relative XPath, you need to remember one thing in mind, that always try to hit the element using the element properties alone. So when you write the XPath in a such a way that there is a very very less chance of failures. Okay, for example, let me open a website called Chercher Tech Practice. So in our practice chercher.tech/practice, we have a couple of practice pages. So we will be using this practice page for XPath, and let's see. So here, let's see, pop-ups, hidden division, implicit, explicit. So there is a file called explicit-wait. Okay, you can go to that. So you will have a different buttons and all the stuff. Okay, so right click and inspect. I hope you know what is right click and inspect. Basically it will try to find the elements properties. So I'm going to use under the one. Okay, so I wanted to find this click me to open the alert after 5 seconds. Let me find that button. Okay, so I'm able to identify the button, and the button has the ID as alert. So now if I want to come to this particular part with relative XPath, what I can do is /* I mean like any tag name, and then at ID alert. Okay, and then I close it. So I'm able to find this particular button. Okay, but in case if this is the relative XPath, and in case if I am trying to use absolute XPath, then what I have to write is, let me make it a little bigger. So from here I have to start saying that /HTML. Inside the HTML we don't have to go to head, we can go to body. So here /body. Inside the body we don't need a header, so we have to go to content wrapper. So division, and inside the divisions we have something, I mean like a container fluid, all the stuffs. So it keeps on going. So this is what absolute XPath. So as I said, it may go for a kilometer, but don't ever try to use the XPaths. Okay, so and one more thing, if you have not seen before, then you can form the XPath. Not just form the XPath, basically you can copy the XPath from the Chrome itself. So for example, for this button I can right click on that element and go to copy and go to copy XPath. So for example, I'm pressing Ctrl+Z to go back to the one we have formed. So this is the XPath that we have formed versus this is the XPath the browser has formed. It's almost similar, but only thing is like you might get duplicates when you are using the browser developed XPath. So try to avoid it. Okay, and single slash is used for immediate child, and double slashes are used for any child inside. So the next question is, what is same origin policy and how it can be handled? How to overcome same origin policy through Webdriver? Okay, so what is this same origin policy? When Selenium developers have introduced Selenium Marci, okay, they used to work on the concept of same origin policy. I mean like it is like Selenium RC will work as if, you know, there is a different tool which is working with the browsers. Okay, for example, consider like it is in a simple terms like a driver is trying to drive the car. Okay, this is what same origin. Okay, same origin policy, not, I mean like this is what not same origin policy. Okay, this is not same origin policy, but Selenium RC was working like a driver driving the car. Okay, but when Selenium Webdriver came in, they have started working as if the car itself driving on its own. Okay, now the speed is faster when the car itself is driving rather than when the car is driven by a driver. Okay, this is what happened. But here, what is the same origin policy? Okay, the same origin policy is nothing when a particular website, okay, for example, consider like one website is there, and if some script from the outside, okay, trying to access this website or try to manipulate this website, then the browsers started refusing, saying that this could be the malicious script. Okay, this is how normally they will execute that XSS scripting, vulnerability scripting. Okay, so to avoid this vulnerability, browsers have implemented this same origin policy. That means that the script which is initiated by the same domain name only can access the website. Okay, this is what the same origin policy. But Selenium RC was working as if it was coming, the script is coming outside the, I mean like from a different website, because with Selenium RC what you have to do is you have to instantiate a web server in your system, and then you have to access the required website. So which means that there are two different websites present now. Okay, one is the local server or whatever there, and the other one is the target website or the or where you want to perform your automation. So these two different websites. So now Selenium RC will go into this website and try to access it. Okay, so when they have introduced the same origin policy, say RC got stuck there because it can't access the websites. So at that time, developers have developed the Selenium WebDriver, where this Selenium WebDriver acts as if the script is started with the same domain name. Okay, so this is what same origin policy is. Same origin policy basically means that a script that is initiated by the domain only can access the same domain's properties. It cannot access a different domain's properties. That's what same origin policy is. Okay, so if you guys might not have seen that same origin policy, let me showcase it. So this is my website. Okay, so but it is a local copy. Okay, let me inspect it in the Chrome, I mean like in the Firefox. Okay, I'll go to the console. Okay, now if I refresh this website, what happens is it will block the couple of contents. If you can see it here, cross origin request is blocked, which means that one particular website is trying to access another another website's properties or CSS or JS files, and the error says the same origin policy disallows reading the remote resource files, which means that, so see here there is one particular file and I am trying to access it from my domain name instead of the local one. Basically here I am having a local, but inside the code I have given to access my domain, which is chercher.tech. So what happens is like these two will act as two different domains. So which will, the Chercher tech now will try to block this particular requests. I mean like not the Chercher tech, but the browser itself blocks it. Okay, so this is the error you will get if you try to access different websites. Okay, so that's all about same origin policy. So the next question, when should I use Selenium Grid? Selenium Grid can be used when you want to use remote machines to perform your automation tasks. If you did not find the question you are looking for, then search for Chercher Tech 1500 Selenium interview questions so that you can find your question in some other video in our site.